If you are intrigued by British royal history and the women in particular, then the Starz Network trilogy miniseries that began in 2013 and includes The White Queen, The White Princess, and The Spanish Princess might be for you. Based on a book series called The Cousins' War by Philippa Gregory, the trilogy covers the women who stood behind the men in power in the English monarchy from 1464 to the 1530s, preceding the first two sovereign queens, Mary and Elizabeth. 3 generations of medieval monarchs through the focus of the women, the White Queen, the first in the trilogy, is about Elizabeth Woodville, a noble lady from the House of Lancaster who appealed to King Edward IV of the enemy House of York to recover her late husband's property. Instead of merely giving back her land, Edward decided to marry her and make her his queen, even though they came from two households that stood against each other due to the Wars of the Roses. The white part of the White Queen part stems from the House of York's symbol being a white rose, while the House of Lancaster is represented by a red rose. Born in 1437, Elizabeth was of middle rank in the English social hierarchy and had a first marriage to a minor supporter of the House of Lancaster, John Grey of Groby. He died at the Second Battle of St. Albans, leaving Elizabeth a widowed mother of 2 sons. She was known for her beauty and charm, catching the king's eye and marrying him in secret, thus becoming Queen Consort of England from 1464 until 1483 as the spouse of King Edward IV. Her marriage stirred controversy due to her commoner status. Elizabeth wielded significant influence during her time as queen, promoting the interests of her family, the Woodvilles. After Edward's death, she faced political turmoil and was embroiled in conflicts during the Wars of the Roses. Following the downfall of her family's power, she retired to a life of relative obscurity. Her story remains one of intrigue and controversy in English history. Next in the trilogy, The White Princess premiered 4 years later in 2017 and picks up with Elizabeth's daughter, also named Elizabeth, who reluctantly marries into the throne, uniting the houses of Lancaster and York and ending the Wars of the Roses. Born in 1466, Elizabeth of York's siblings included her infamous younger brothers, the Princes in the Tower, who mysteriously disappeared from the Tower of London shortly after their uncle Richard III seized the throne in 1483. Although the 1484 Act of Parliament declared the marriage of her parents as invalid, Elizabeth and her sisters were welcomed back to court by Richard III. It was rumored that Richard was plotting to marry Elizabeth. However, she did marry Henry VII, and they had 7 children together, where she played a significant role in shaping English history. Her reign marked the beginning of the Tudor dynasty, bringing stability to England after years of conflict. Elizabeth is remembered as a symbol of reconciliation and the founding of a new era in English monarchy. Last in the trilogy is The Spanish Princess, and takes place 15 years after the White Princess took the throne when Princess Catherine of Aragon was summoned to England to marry Arthur, the son of Queen Elizabeth, but later famously married his brother, King Henry VIII. Born in Castile, Spain in 1485 to Isabella I of Castile and Ferdinand II of Aragon, Catherine was 3 years old when she was betrothed to Arthur, heir apparent to the English throne. They married in 1501, but Arthur died 5 months later. Catherine spent years in limbo, and during this time, she held the position of ambassador of the Aragonese crown to England in 1507, the first known female ambassador in European history. She eventually married Henry VIII and became Queen Consort in 1509. Catherine's inability to produce a male heir led to the annulment of her marriage, sparking the English Reformation. By 1526, Henry was infatuated with Anne Boleyn, dissatisfied that his marriage to Catherine had produced no surviving sons, leaving their daughter Mary as heir presumptive at a time when there was no established precedent for a woman on the throne. He sought to have their marriage annulled, setting in motion a chain of events that led to England's schism with the Catholic Church. When Pope Clement refused to annul the marriage, Henry defied him by assuming supremacy over religious matters in England and separating the Church of England from papal authority. Despite her staunch defense of her marriage, she was eventually divorced by Henry, his first of 6 wives he had over time. Catherine's steadfastness and religious devotion earned her admiration throughout Europe, and her legacy remains influential in English history. For more on these 3 women and the mark they made on history, watch the trilogy on Starz or read the books included in the video summary below.